Well, a book that used to frighten kids, well, and their friends back in the 80s has made its way to the big screen. It's ABC's Columbia's Matt Parent. He's got a review of this scary stories to tell in the dark.
Welcome to another Monday. Even with half a dozen new wide releases this weekend, Hobbs and Shaw held on to the top spot. As far as the new releases went, there were many underperformers. The movie I originally was going to review, The Kitchen, arguably bombed worst of all. I say was going to review because once I saw its Rotten Tomatoes review next to the film I did review, I switched in a hurry. The movie I did review I've been excited about for a while because as a kid I had all the books and my friends and I would repeatedly scare ourselves reading them. So I decided to jump on the nostalgia train, and without any further ado, here's my take on scary stories to tell in the dark. Our movie begins in 1968 Mill Valley. Stella is a girl with a troubled past that is a little bit of an outcast, but has two good friends, Augie and Chuck. As the three set out on their last night of trick-or-treating, they cause problems with the local bully, Tommy. While running from him, they meet a kid, Ramon, who is visiting their town, and they offer to show him a haunted house. They tell him the legend that a girl named Sarah Bellows was imprisoned in the basement by her family, who shunned her. As a result, she wrote a bunch of scary stories that if you heard one, you'd never be heard from again. After some weird happenings in the house, they find Sarah's old room and stumble across one of her books of scary stories. Unwisely, Stella takes it with her and our plot thickens. Reading one of the stories one night, she realizes that it's about the aforementioned bully and the ink still seems to be wet. Simultaneously, we see said bully experiencing what is happening in the story that Stella is reading. When the gang finds out the next day that Tommy is missing, they become worried and try to do away with the book repeatedly, unsuccessfully each time. As the movie progresses, we see the book is writing its own stories to deal with each of the people that came into the house. It's a race against time for our group of friends to discover the secrets about Sarah and how to free themselves from her wrath before their own story is written. We, as the audience, watch in suspense, waiting to see how this will play out, and if you've read the stories as a kid, your nerves are even more hardwired than normal. So, what to say about this one? First off, I know this is supposed to be a horror movie for teens, so to speak, but it was definitely a creepy one that could be enjoyed by a much older group. With Guillermo del Toro adding his hand to the writing and production, this movie is able to build suspense extremely well and get your heart racing. This movie, of course, has a few jump scares, but they are rather minimal, showing that they aren't needed to get a good scare across. Also, the lack of gore shows that it isn't always needed as well. Having read the books over and over as a child, it's creepy seeing some of the drawings that are burned in my brain come alive on the big screen. And even though they now look a little childish, they still strike that chord of nerves in me from all those years ago. I feel like it was a fun and well-done movie, which actually hints at a sequel, and if that's the case, I will have no problem going to see that one as well. I was actually at my parents' house this weekend and managed to drudge up my old copy of the book. Although I am a little nervous to open it and read some of these again, so I guess in that sense, the movie does its job well. If you're looking for a horror movie that's more suspense than gore, this is the one for you. This has been your Monday Movie Musing. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Up next, Tyler has that last look at your 7-day forecast.